Now, welcome to a weekend ramble, where this time the topic is.
I kind of want to talk about why we watch and love the shows and the movies we do and how this compares into Star Wars, what they're doing right and not doing correctly for today's modern audience, I guess.
Ooh, that's a lot.
It's a mouthful, I know. That's how I roll these days. Deep thought video coming to you from News from Naboo. One thing I think is huge to note in today's modern audience, the things that I think really are why everything works is characters. We've talked about how characters in Star Wars, some of them have been a little more flat, a little more one-noted, and how that's just like been a detriment.
I think one of their problems is they keep using quote unquote legacy characters, and they don't really. You can't take a lot of these characters and do a previous story and have anything kind of transformative happen to them.
Right, because we know who they are.
Or if you do, it's not like a surprise. Like Kenobi, you tried to kind of do this story with him, and I don't know that you really touched on the things that were interesting about that point of his life. Instead, you're like, well, let's have him go save Leia, and he's going to do all these cool things. But it's like, I'm more interested in the character of Obi-Wan Kenobi in this series.
Absolutely. Well, even think about the character of Rey. Force Awakens, people didn't really have a huge problem with her. We had questions about how could she do the things she did. But I feel she was at least a multifaceted character, that there were different things she was capable of doing. Now you hit the second movie, and what is she? She is now a one-trick pony. She is a Mary Sue. That's all she is. That's all anyone could see her as because of how they wrote her.
Well, she was already kind of put into that Mary Sue category a bit, and then they kind of embraced that in the next movie.
Like I said, they took away any character she seemed to have in the first one. This desperate need for family, this whole everything that I could see in her, which I think was a huge detriment, of course, to the audience.
I don't think they sell enough the idea that she's gonna just a day after she sees Kylo Ren murder Han Solo, the day after, 2 days, whatever it might be, the day after she is tortured by him, essentially, kind of tries to mind probe her, like, I'm gonna go save this guy.
Right. Okay.
But why? Like, if you want to say that they're like kindred spirits, and I know there's the dyad, and maybe there's something weird there, but like, you have to sell the audience on that. You didn't sell me on why she would just drop everything and go, I'm gonna go save this guy.
And that's the problem that Star Wars has been running into. They have these one-dimensional characters that have such little character development or real depth that it's just horrible. The characters that the modern audience want, the characters I know you, Thor, love, the characters our audience love, characters that are real and they evolve and you want to root for them. Even if they're a bad character, a bad person, they make you want to root for them. Think of Squid Game. Season 2 is coming out like in days at this point.
Yeah.
Why did we love Squid Game? These characters started out, most of them were horrible people. You know, Lee Jun-jae's character, for example. He owed a whole bunch of money. He was in debt. He wasn't really a good father to his daughter. He was a horrible son to his mother. He was a layabout, horrible, like, he was a bad person. He gets into the Squid Game. He's put in these life and death scenarios, and he starts changing. He's caring about these people. These people are strangers, and he cares about them. At the end, he was willing to give up all of the money just so that he and his friend could walk out of there and survive.
Yeah.
Even if they had nothing, he thought, you know what, I'm giving up, let's survive together. He changed. He's no longer selfish and greedy. And you know what, and the old man in there was a representation of his mother while he was in there. Like, he just all of a sudden, I'm going to take care of the elderly person. Like, he changed into a good person. And as the audience, we felt that. We were rooting for him. We wanted him to win. We wanted him to succeed. We wanted this change. I mean, conversely, his friend who supposedly, he went to the business school, he devolved in there. And by the end of the series, you hated him.
You see his true nature. Like, the game brings out his true nature. And though he has been a shady person and done bad things, when push comes to shove, again, who he really is, that true nature comes out of both the characters. We see the greedy nature out of the one, and we see the good nature out of the other. And we've seen that evolve. We've seen that, kind of blossom, if you will.
Yes. You move into the Penguin. He's a horrible person. Oz is a bad person, but the show tricks you into rooting for him at every turn. Well, every single turn.
As I've talked about in the reviews for the show that we did, it was all about Victor. Victor gave you a reason to like the Penguin, because you kind of put yourself in Victor's shoes that, I can see the good in this guy. I can see how he can help me be a different person and get what I want out of life. And it was very clever how they used Victor. And then, of course, I'm not going to spoil how it ends, but it's very interesting how it ends with those two.
Right. And now, again, back to Star Wars. Lee Jun-jae played another character. He played in The Acolyte. he was the best character in there because his character had soul, but they still wrote him poorly.
Yeah, he
And
acted. He did a great job.
Wonderful actor, and his acting carried it through that people still liked his character in that show.
I liked his character in the first couple episodes, and then they just kind of like, he's just going to be a mess for the rest of the series.
They took away all of his intelligence and his deductive reasoning, his instinct, and they're like, nah, we need to dumb him down. So somehow they took a good character and decided to make it worse, and were surprised that audiences started flipping.
Your characters have to stay consistent. You can't say, well, I want the story to go in this direction now, so I'm going to have my character do something against what he would normally do and make them do it. And then you're like, well, that's not what your character would do. So now you're just kind of having this story I don't care about because this character doesn't just remain consistent.
Right. They're doing the same mistake, I feel like, with plots. Now, a lot of movies, books, television shows always followed what you could call the hero's journey. This was written by Joseph Campbell. This was the basic outline. And sometimes they would reverse it. Yes, Star Wars had it. I mean, how many shows and movies?
It's the universal story, essentially.
It's basically, you know, there's the one person, they have the call to adventure.
Yeah.
Where they have to call up and be better. There's usually some sort of like supernatural aid or some older person or some mystic force that keeps them moving forward, who helps them. They have to cross the threshold. They have the apex of adventure. They have atonement. They grow. They change. And Star Wars embraced this. First movie followed the hero's journey. Luke going off on his adventure, following Obi-Wan Kenobi, following the call to adventure, the greater good, and he got his rewards at the end. Even just in the one movie, he did all that.
Yeah, no, that's. I mean, Lucas has said he was friends with Joseph Campbell. I mean, it's not like, oh,
this
did
is
he
a
or
well-studied,
didn't he? He's very much acknowledged the fact that he based Star Wars off of the hero's journey.
Lord of the Rings follows this example. Squid Game follows this example.
No, it's the tried and true.
The Matrix follows this example.
A lot of stories do. I mean, it's the tried and true formula of how to tell a story about, you know, somebody who begins as usually somebody you can relate to, somebody who has flaws, somebody who you can't see being a hero necessarily, and overcoming everything along the way to become that.
Exactly.
And you want to see them because you put yourself in their shoes.
It's a wonderful, if anyone's ever checked it out, it's actually really a cool storytelling thing. And then you can think of how many stories and things that you've known that follow this general outline.
If you're interested in writing, you should read The Hero's Journey.
I mean, in movie theaters and everything, they've expanded this. They've flipped the narrative on these things too. On The Hero's Journey, there's like an opposite to it now. And it's tried and true and it works. And then Star Wars just threw it away.
I feel like
modern movies. Sorry.
Yeah, no. I think I know where you're going. I mean, modern movies have kind of. I mean, you kept saying modern audiences before, and that there's a kind of a slang meaning for that as well about modern audiences, and I won't get into that too much, but they do kind of, especially with, if we're gonna keep it real here, female characters. They really want to make a point. Like, this is the character is already strong, and that's it. That's your story. I mean, you went to Rey. I mean, that was kind of the problem. Like, we didn't see her grow. It's like, well, she's just going to be good and strong because that's what we want to say about women, which, yes, that's cool. Don't get me wrong. Women can be strong and all that. But when you don't give us a starting point and then an end point and just say this is what they are, it's not very exciting.
Well, even think about Wonder Woman. We have started, in the first movie, she was always physically a strong character.
Sure.
But the fish out of water element, the learning thing, the curve, leaving Themyscira, is what helped evolve and change her character. So that's what the hero's journey was about. It doesn't have to be a physical journey. It can be emotional as well.
No, it can be a lot of different ways to change and grow and become stronger or become better or overcome something.
But I think what's interesting is these more modern movies that have come out in the last few years, they get lost in teaching or enforcing a message over actually storytelling, which is the problem.
That's what I was just kind of saying.
You can have a message included within a story, but when you exclude the story in favor of the message, that's where the problem lies in. And I'm really hoping, more studios are starting to fix this now, and Star Wars is, I think, trying to make an effort. They've said they will. Well, I really want them to.
We'll see.
It's interesting, though, because I feel like with the modern movie audience, with the big studios kind of failing in this belief messaging over story that they have been for the last few years. I mean, that's why the superhero franchises are down, why the Star Wars franchise has been down. I think one interesting thing that's come out of that is I feel like it gave other small projects a chance to shine. A lot of your smaller screen, I mean, Netflix and Apple and Paramount and Peacock have been putting out better quality programming because they've just followed the tried and true rules.
Yeah.
And then I think that's what gave Godzilla -1 a chance to shine in the theater.
Oh, that was a fantastic movie.
I mean, how many American audiences are going to just go, I'm going to watch this Godzilla movie. Yeah, it's not in English. I don't care. But it's so good, it was undeniable, really.
Yeah. And that had a hero's journey in it as well.
It did. And
Go
it
figure.
competed in the U.S. market.
It was one of the best movies.
That followed the old tried and true hero's journey and told a great character-driven story.
Yeah, it doesn't always have to make a point about, that you want to make about the world or what you want to say. Sometimes you just need a good classic story with good, solid characters, and that's just what people love.
It's part of why I've been enjoying Skeleton Crew.
Yeah, it actually has been part of the reason to enjoy Skeleton Crew. There's no, I know some people think it is, but there's no, in your face, this is what we want to prove about the real world. It's a fun adventure.
Yeah.
With some really good characters.
So far, as of the time of recording this, it seems to be following a nice little hero's journey arc as well.
More or less, yeah.
So I'm having a good time with it, and I'm hoping that this video gave you some things to think upon. And maybe Star Wars can think upon them as well.
It'd be nice if they did.
Because I am looking forward to some tried and true Star Wars stories.
Yeah, I think the Mando and Grogu movie is going to be pretty much a straightforward, fun movie. But anyway, that's going to be all we got for you this time. Now it is your turn. Dig to the comments below. Tell us what you think of what we rambled about today. And let's talk some Star Wars or movies in general. The hero's journey. Whatever the case may be, leave those comments below. And until next time, thanks for watching.